So getting into the books themselves, one of the foundations, something you created of the metabolic training was hurricane training, right? And I was reading about it, and there's different categories. There's 5 different categories, and as you increase the number in categories, like categories 5 is harder than category 1, and you're basically progressing from some metabolic work into body weight metabolic work, into strength training metabolic work, into strongman training, right? Can you tell me, like, when did you come up with the idea, where the name come from?
Yeah.
It's all over the place, so people probably are like, where did he get hurricane?
And that's a good thing, because I said you should always ask where stuff came from. You know, over 10 years ago, I started working with MMA fighters. You know, I was cornering guys at Pride. I was training in a number of different martial arts, and I was befriended by Renzo Gracie, who really saw that there was going to be a trend in MMA. Started to see guys like Mark Kerr, Mark Coleman coming along, like, and it was like, man, if there's going to be more guys like this, we got to get what they got. They're strong and
was
fast.
Renzo the first, one of the first owners of UFC?
No, that was Horion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But Renzo, who was one of the famous fighting members of the family, takes on all comers, and his brother Hyan is actually on the cover of this book, who was a very good friend. We started to train, and guys, I was cutting my teeth to it. You know, they wanted, why they trained with me is because I was just fresh off the bobsled. We're going back to like 1997, and I was strong, I was powerful, and certain moves weren't working on me because I was able to power out of stuff.
Right.
But so they wanted some of what I had, and so I started to train them. Like, again, the mistake, maybe I could even say, because hey, the black belt makes more mistakes than anybody. I'm not afraid to say I've made more mistakes than anybody. That's how I've learned to get there. And I started training with, it was all weights, it was all power, it was all sprints. But what I noticed as I started to train in the martial arts and into MMA, man, endurance is a humongous part. See, guys, at the original Pride, so on this picture right here, Hyan is fighting at Pride Bushido. These were 10-minute first rounds.
Wow.
10 minutes straight was the first round. So, now we've got the, and remember, UFC when it originally started was unlimited time as well. So endurance was an incredible aspect that you had to have, and I wasn't, as I said before, I wasn't as familiar with that because that wasn't my forte, which is another great point for training is, hey, just because you're good at something doesn't mean that's the only thing that's out there, and just because you don't like something or you can't do it personally doesn't mean it can't work for somebody.
Right.
So we started training in what I guess you could consider circuits at first, circuit training. And I experimented with all forms of circuit training. We did continuous exercises in a row, which we still do some of that stuff.
Right.
We did running into continuous exercise. We did treadmill into continuous exercise. We would go out to the track. We would do stairs into exercise, stair running. We would do mile running. We were doing road work then. I was trying everything I could in terms of the metabolic continuum to see what was best.
Yep.
And what we started to find was, hey, in MMA, the guys are training multiple sessions a week, and it's only growing more and more. So one, I was limited in time.
Right. 2,
I couldn't destroy the guys because if I destroyed them physically, then they couldn't go and do the recover and couldn't train. So if their legs are destroyed, that's why the leg training is at the end of the week with our stuff. Because if I crush their legs on Monday, they can't do anything for the rest of the week. So I started to fit in where my leg training would be. I started to fit in where my upper body could be because you could still form training around that. And then in the middle of the week, we started to do metabolic circuits that then started to evolve into, we were doing treadmill runs into different varieties of exercises in between and back up.
Right.
Now through that time, guys, I had heart rate monitors on everybody. I was computer generating every workout to see what was happening.
Right.
And I was putting heart rate monitors on the guys when they were fighting in practice to see if I could mimic that style. Because, see, people might think that, in MMA, it's nonstop, but no, there are positions of rest. There are positions that your heart rate isn't as high. And what I started to find was we could mimic that exact same thing with real hard onto a treadmill where the heart rate's real high, but then come off, you're lifting, it's still higher, but not as high. Back on again and do it again. And then in between each round of that, we would have a minute rest like the fight to work on heart rate variability, to bring it back down. And we were actually training the guys to improve their heart rate as, how to control themselves.
Right.
And so we started to really hone this down until then it became, there was 5 rounds we would do, then it came down to 3 rounds until it was like about 18 minutes long. It would be run, lift, run, lift, run, lift, which would take 5 minutes, which was the exact time of a round, minute off and go. And one day we were doing these a lot, and Hadra Gracie was like gassed after the workout. It was when, I don't remember the year now, but Hurricane Katrina or whatever, or one of the bad hurricanes that had hit. I think it might have even been before that one, or whatever one of the bad ones was. Not the New Orleans one, but one previous to that. I think off of Florida that hit. It was on the tip of everybody's tongue, this hurricane. And Hadra Gracie says, man, I feel like I just got hit by a hurricane. And that's where the name came from. So it clicked. It wasn't like I just gave it a cool name, the hurricane. What it clicked was that a hurricane comes in and it's super violent, super explosive, and then it's gone. And then there's a period of rebuilding after that hurricane where everything has to come back strong. And that's what the hurricane is. We come in and we trash the area. You know, we put you in oxygen depth. We tear up your muscles a little bit. We increase your heart rate and your core body temperature. And now, for your body to reach homeostasis, you know, you have to now burn more energy to get everything back to that. So actually, now we're burning off fat. We're building up muscle. And this was before the studies were being done on what they call, I think now, HIIT training or EPOC and all these other things, that I was just doing it on instinct, where now the studies are out there to support it. And now you're seeing a lot of styles of training moving towards that, you know, and that's the history of the hurricane. And just like a regular hurricane, we made 5 different categories. It can go from as easy as body weight up to now you're doing strongman exercises in between, which is super, super challenging. But we undulate how we use the hurricanes throughout our weeks and when and where they're, you know, indicated and how many a week depending on the training that guys are doing. So I will say this, 4 or 5 years ago we did 2 a week. Now we're doing like 1 a week because guys are doing more.
Right.
It's becoming a career now. See, 5 years ago guys weren't just martial artists or mixed martial artists. They also had a job. So like they were getting a lot of their workouts with me. Now they're getting their workouts, but they're also working out. You know, now I'm boxing in the morning, then I'm lifting at night. So these books are actually an evolution of what has happened too, but that's the history of the hurricane, where it came from. And Hodger Gracie, who did the foreword for this book and is in this book, he just beat Kevin Randleman, you know, decisively, choked him out the other night at Strikeforce, which was real cool.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Still going.
Well, tell me, you said personally, like you cornered a few guys. Tell me what it's like to walk out behind the fighter, like the thousands of people screaming, like back in the prep room. He's warming up. Is he as an elite fighter? Is he nervous? Is he excited? Like, how do you keep him mentally focused? So, you know, cortisol low. You know, want him to be amped up but not too, you know, amped.
Well, you know, and I haven't just cornered a few guys. I've cornered a lot of guys.
Right.
So I've been, you know, cornering guys from, you know, Pride, which I think there was nothing. I really enjoyed the Pride events. It would be like 70, 80,000 people in like the Saitama Arena, which could actually expand out.
Wow. And
you would actually come out onto a platform that would lower you through the crowd. You would walk through the crowd. And, you know, it was an amazing show. And UFC is a little different where you're kind of backstage and you kind of do a quick walkout. But I'll say that the stakes are getting higher and higher and higher where, you know, you asked about nerves or anything else. Hey, every fighter is individual. You know, I'll give an easy example. I train the Miller brothers, Jim and Dan Miller. Jim Miller is more extroverted. Dan Miller is more introverted. Jim is more excited and gets fired up, and you know, it's almost like he's the guy, the tiger in the cage. You want to stick and fire up more. Where Dan's not that kind of guy. Dan's the kind of guy you keep. You know, he's more low key, cool, calm, collected, but also can be eating himself up a little bit too. But either way, it just shows that, hey, these are 2 brothers and they're totally different. So every fighter is different, and that's the skill in being a cornerman and what you do. But remember, as a cornerman, my job was always the pre-fight preparation, helping those guys make weight, which there's a big part of that in this book. Mine was also you know, keeping those guys cool. I might be the guy that I'm timing the round while somebody else is giving the coaching. I'm not the guy giving the technical. You know, I'm not yelling out what to do or assessing the stuff. Yeah, so my job is you know, almost over once they get to the ring and away. But I might be the guy that has the water as well, and you know, has the time. They're still important jobs, but leading up to that, a fight, I've seen it before. A fight can be lost on the way into the ring. So there are certain techniques or things that you have to know about each fighter that you work with to keep them under control. But I'll tell you, even from my standpoint, I've competed in world championships. I've represented the United States all over the world. I've never been as nervous for any competitions as when that cage door closes behind your guy, and then now you can't do anything anymore.